Hello and welcome to Worldwide People's Championships. We've made it to week 18. I think that's quite remarkable. And week 18 has been so far, for those of you who haven't seen the games, or for those of you who actually have seen the games, has been an excellent, probably the best week we've ever had. So things are definitely picking up. I remember a long time ago, 18 weeks ago, me and Napalm were thinking about getting this thing going. And we've stuck through this, so I'm happy with that. But really grateful to all the players who played, especially, well, actually, equally to everybody who plays, and not grateful to those who don't. So Voodoo is the current champion. This is his, he's going for his 5th defense. He's already beaten Lucian, Craze twice, Matt Stork. Of course, he bit Iridium Blows in the first O2000 championship, and he is taking on BC Blackheart, perhaps his best challenger yet. He did get a lot of training from Lucian before this on some of the maps, but I mean, these two players, both UEF, really the only big difference is that Voodoo has played for so much longer than Blackheart. Blackheart a bit of a newcomer on FAF, but has been absolutely brutal. Interesting that he did choose Fields of Isis against such an experienced player as Voodoo, though. I mean, Fields of Isis is one of the most classic maps. But he probably feels pretty good on it. Both choosing UEF, both Germans. And second air from Blackheart. Thinking about a scout first and a big land spam. And a bomber versus scout. Looks like second air from both these players. Nearly identical. Haven't really been paying attention to the build order too much. And from seeing some games from Blackheart, I'll actually slow this down. He is extremely good with his mech marines and scouts, so very quick reaction time. So here he's actually retreating against that tank, realizing the danger. He's got that scout. But here comes the bomber from Voodoo. See if his micro looks like it worked pretty good. If he gets one. Oh, if he would have got 2 sets of engineers, would have been great. But 1 bomber, 1 engineer. Second bomber coming in from Voodoo. So Blackheart here with air defense. That scout allowed him to know exactly what to build, so he's really minimized the damage from those bombers from Voodoo. So far so good, and Voodoo actually coming in here with a tank. So both players here off the first 2 factories land in air. We've seen both land and air engagements, although Blackheart a bit ahead in terms of production, which is a bit surprising given that he lost those engineers. Interestingly, both ACUs going to the same side, and this is going to be Voodoo for whatever reason decided to stop, and that could be a mistake because that will allow Blackheart to build that point defense. But of course, as soon as Voodoo gets that factory, he can get a little bit of arty and counter that point defense. So maybe that's the smart thing to do, allow Blackheart to invest the extra mass, 250 mass, into that point defense, and then just take it out. On the other side, it looks to be secured by Voodoo, and he is going to get the reclaim. But Blackheart pulling away a little bit, so it looks like those early engagements, a little too much of bombing from Voodoo and not enough payoff. And of course, Voodoo representing for the UEF. So since I haven't been casting for about a month now, hoping to come back. But great things have happened in the casting. Well, some good things, some not. So Guile, of course, absolutely running away with a subscriber count, which is great. If people needs one caster to introduce this game to new people, that's definitely Guile. And here, this tank from Voodoo, actually with 3 kills, getting all the way to the back of Blackheart's base. But Blackheart with a tank is on the case. Of course, this is a veteran, and actually 4 kills, absolutely brutal. Tank there for Voodoo, so far the MVP of this game as far as I see it. And Voodoo making a huge base here right in front of this point defense, although allowing Blackheart to clean up on top of the reclaim. So here, minute 6, checking out the reclaim, 3,500 for Blackheart. Voodoo 27 a bit behind, and on power only 408 power for Voodoo. Stalling a little bit, and nearly exactly the same for Blackheart. Actually, no, a little more, now 500. Looks like he's spamming those pigeons, but both players nearly identical power. In terms of map control, looks like actually very similar. There was that problem here for Blackheart from that tank, so he's slightly behind. And now we're going to have a little Tech 1 engagement here on the bottom between Blackheart and Voodoo. When you have the same faction, there's really no clear advantage for either side of this Tech 1 stage. So we'll see who techs up first and what happens. So one thing about the way that Voodoo set up these UEF logos is the sequence in which you made this template is really nice. The engineers don't have to move around too much. They build on the outside then in. That's a nice touch. And meanwhile, Blackheart breaking through on the bottom as Voodoo takes over the point defense on the other side. 250 mass for Voodoo in that wreck that he just got. And both players nearly identical on the score. Voodoo defending his radar. I don't know, at this point somebody might be yelling at me, please zoom in. We only see yellow and green dots, but we want to see everything that happens. If you really want to look up close, that's what's happening. A whole bunch of tanks killing each other. There are a whole bunch of factories in the distance, and Blackheart walking around. And it looks like Voodoo now counter pushing here. And a lot of reclaim, so this is very important, whoever gets this on the bottom choke point. On top they'll break through for Voodoo, so Voodoo looks like if he denies those two mass extractors, that's significant map control advantage. Here coming up minute 9, looking at the Tech 2 mass extractor counts, we got a total of 7 for Voodoo. Blackheart sitting on 5, so Voodoo a bit ahead in terms of eco, and he's ahead in terms of map control. So what does Blackheart have more of? And it must be that he does have Tech 2. He's got TMD, he's got his Tech 2 power, so a Tech 2 factory for Blackheart. We do not have a Tech 2 factory yet for Voodoo, but he's about to get one. Actually using his ACU to assist. Here minute 10, both players on ISIS. And of course ISIS is one of the maps that really favors Sterling. He got all these multiple choke points. And here Blackheart using his ACU, no upgrades. He's going to push ahead with his force. Voodoo keeping his ACU safe, not doing much. And here up on top we see Tech 2, some flak, and some mongoose for Blackheart. He's going to try to win back map control. And this might actually be a great move for Blackheart if he wins map control in this position. There's a lot of free reclaim. Voodoo's engineers trying to come in, trying to clean up, but they're going to run into Blackheart's ACU. So far dead even between these two players. Extremely even. And it might not seem like much, but here after minute 11, already massive basis. No player really taking huge chances. We haven't seen too many drops or crazy strategy. Just who can out-eco the other, who can grab more mass from the field. That's really one of the ways to think about the map, is the distribution of mass and how that changes throughout the game. Because you can think about mass that you get from wrecks, you basically get instantly at a very high rate. So more access you have to that, the better your eco. In terms of air, it looks like perhaps some crazy things here for Blackheart. Blackheart already going for his second Tech 2 power, mongoose spam, Tech 2 point defense. It's quite defensive here from Blackheart. I'm not really sure if I agree with that. Putting in about 500 mass into that unit. Looks like he is just going to give up 3/4 of the map, and that's a significant advantage for Voodoo. I'm not sure if he really needed to do that. I mean, he has Tech 2 and the ACU in the field. No reason to retreat. Meanwhile, Voodoo here is getting Tech 2 power under his shield. He's got some TMD and gunships now for Voodoo, so this should be interesting. Voodoo now switching on mass storage capping. And now scouts from Blackheart. That's one thing about Blackheart. Very good scout. Always knows what's going on. It's really a sign of a great player. Interesting here from Voodoo, sending gunships to 2 different directions. He might show this gunship first. Try to get Blackheart 2. Actually, no. Voodoo's going to come in with his Air Force, and actually he's going to lose. He's going to lose most of his gunships, but this other gunship on the other side is going to get some free kills. He's going to go straight after the mass extractors. And the best thing to do is get a Tech 1 mass extractor that's halfway through an upgrade. It's the most painful thing, but here Blackheart, very good defense. really almost no losses. 1 Tech 2 Mask Extractor loss for Blackheart. On the other side we see 3 Tech 1 Mask Extractors to single gunship. So a nice attempt from Voodoo, but I think it was very well defended by Blackheart, who now has air control. But given the position for Voodoo, he did have that advantage in terms of map control, in terms of eco. He could try something, really put Blackheart on the back foot, but Blackheart defended very well and actually beginning to even out, Voodoo having to retreat. So here, when the game becomes this close, even a small thing like a failed attack can really turn it. Although Blackheart here choosing to keep his units in a one big blob, while Voodoo operating with 2. I think this one blob for Blackheart much more powerful than either one for Voodoo. But Voodoo not looking to engage, he's just looking to make sure Blackheart doesn't move into either direction. Meanwhile, we see Tech 2 air, Tech 2 land, actually going Tech 3 land here for Voodoo. So first signs of Tech 3. We're also seeing resource allocation from Voodoo. He's got 3 Tech 2 pigeons, so a lot like Settins. And a whole bunch of Tech 1 power, which he's now boarded. Has a single logo on though. And we might see now Tech 3 Mask Extractors here. Yep. A Tech 3 Mask Extractor for Voodoo. So far, very much an eco fest between these two players. In game 1, neither one really wants to go down. One thing we gotta note, of course, Blackheart chose this one. The next 2 are going to be chosen by Voodoo, so if Blackheart loses, he will need to win the next 2 until he gets to choose another map. And that'll be very dangerous given that Voodoo has such a great assortment of maps that he knows how to play. Really, if you had to choose one player who knows how to play anywhere, it would be Voodoo. Because he's also known Settins as an extremely good player there. Another good player like that, of course, is Crazed. But given what we've seen between Crazed and Voodoo, the last couple Worldwide People's Championships finals, Voodoo has been quite dominant, although I think a lot of that dominance may go down to Crazed being a little too crazy and not winning games that he probably should have. And very much a Tech 2 stage, both in the air and on land. It's a bit of a chess game here. Blackheart trying to push back, but Voodoo firmly in control of an extra 3 Mask Extractors. Also a Tech 2 Raider here for Voodoo would be a great target. And Tech 3 power, so Voodoo, seeing that he's got that advantage, just goes ahead and gets more eco. Not much more than that. Tech 3 air now for Voodoo. TMD. So one thing about ISIS, these are always great positions to drop into. But of course, once Tech 3 air is on the field, any kind of drops are quite dangerous. Here comes a Tech 3 scout from Voodoo. Nice point defenses down, and more TMD as well for Voodoo. So he's looking for a very long game here, it seems. Also Tech 3 power for Blackheart. Blackheart getting resource allocation very quickly. It's a lot of build capacity on there, but both players here imagine nearly 10,000 power each. About 7,000 for Voodoo. About 200 mass, so that's huge. 7,000 for Blackheart, and also almost 200 mass. So once again, nearly identical ecos. Perhaps a little more for Voodoo. Voodoo now we're going to recycle his base. So this first game of this best of 5 and final, can't say it's too much happening. You can blame Blackheart for choosing this map. But I guess one thing you can see here, very similar scores. Only 2 players higher than these 2 on the global ladder, of course, Lucian and Frenzy. Lucian has already signed up for next week. And Frenzy, I'm not really sure if he'll ever play in this one. So big ASF spam. So Voodoo thinking that Tech 3 air perhaps is going to be the way to win this game. He's also started a fatty. Of course, with 200 mass per second. Fatty costs a little over 20,000 mass. So you can do the math, you need about 100 seconds. Assuming your build capacity is focused on the fatty. So every 2 minutes you can make a fatty while not completely killing your eco. We're also seeing a fatty for Blackheart, who is slightly behind, actually quite a bit behind, and now here comes a force from Voodoo. We'll slow this down for this assault. Voodoo does have some Percy's in this force, trying to make sure this fatty doesn't get finished. And the fatty for Voodoo is now complete. It's coming out, and actually Blackheart loses his fatty here. It was very close to being done, but the Percy's, very nice attack here from Voodoo. And that's what happens when you get a nice Tech 3 force and you scout. You see a weakness, you go in, and here Blackheart is reclaiming the fatty. He's going to try to build a new one while Voodoo is going to be walking across the map. If that fatty makes it there before Blackheart can get his own, he's going to be in a lot of trouble. Of course, the fatty can outrange any of the units and slowly chip away at Blackheart's base. So really a game ender here at minute 25. Slowly moving in for Voodoo. And if Blackheart loses here, he started the fatty once again. His eco should be able to support this. You can see he definitely has the mass for it, but a little too much power. This is something perhaps you will never see in a Planetary Annihilation, given the way they set up their economy. And I guess that's a damn shame. But that's just my opinion. Voodoo working on the second fatty. The fatty for Voodoo is now in range. Fatty for Blackheart is now about 3/4 of the way done. Trying to put all of his eco into it. Strat bombers for Voodoo. And ASF, big ASF battle. A Strat bomber. Oh, that's a lot of build capacity taken out by that Strat. That was excellent. But once that fatty is complete, it's going to get the shield. It is now targeted. And just so unlucky for Blackheart, losing two fatties here, which are both nearly complete. 95. Blackheart very disappointed. Goes one game down against Voodoo. And so far, everybody who's faced Voodoo, except Lucian beat him on settings, has lost the first game. And that's very, very hard for Blackheart. But let's see if he can do something about it. Hello, welcome to game 2 between Blackheart and Voodoo. You're in Varga Pass. This is one of the craziest map from the old GPG net ladder. Actually quite good when you understand what this map's about, but for players who are not from GPG, this could be a nightmare. And Blackheart, let's see what he does. He's gonna go with this single mask extractor, and he's gonna go land factory, first engineer. One strategy with this map actually is first air, which is absolutely deadly, but I think it worked even on GPG net, so I'm sure it will work here. But one key to any build on this map is this rock, which is quite close, and that's really what you need to supplement your mass income, because you only have one mass extractor. Then here comes a mech marine called Freshie. And it looks like Blackheart definitely knew about this chunk of mass, and that for sure saved him. So mech marines from both players, two mech marines for Voodoo going from the top. You have a single one with a scout from Blackheart going to the top. But middle and side perhaps, and now expanding engineers. We're already seeing 3 engineers in Voodoo after 5 P-gens, oh sorry, 6 P-gens air. For Voodoo and air, of course, on this game, given that expansion is absolutely critical. Voodoo, or anybody who gets close air, or very early air, can dominate any one of these engineers that's here on a mission to get all this mass. Taking one of those out, it's a huge loss. Also, ACUs usually move out to the side to grab these 4 mass extractor positions. Seeing Voodoo is a little bit behind where Blackheart is. And once again, of course, I am zooming way out because I think that's the way it should be done. Freshie here gets killed without getting any kills. This engineer from Blackheart survives barely. He's kind of here in these bushes, trying to hide in the dark. That's something that's viable, I think, without radar. That's why getting radar is perhaps a very good thing. And here we do see a mech marine from Blackheart that does have radar. Is going to take out this engineer. Engineer's going to get his last mass, and is actually going to be behind a little hill. That's pretty ridiculous, but that won't last too long, so a kill for Marine from Blackheart. And this is a lot of bombers now from Voodoo. And a scout from Blackheart, he's going to see 3 bombers coming his way, and an interceptor. So this interceptor has a lot of work to do. But together with that scout, of course 3 bombers together in a row will take out rows of pigeons. But these interceptors, oh, that was absolutely... So one of the bombers makes it, but yeah, he gets 2 kills, nearly another engineer. But that was a huge loss for Voodoo. Big investment in those bombers, but great defense from Blackheart. And that's because he's got those great scouts. Tanks versus Mech Marines. And here actually Mech Marines with proper micro can't take care of it, but looks like a better micro was for Blackheart. Here minute 5. One thing of course about Varga Pass, if you're not familiar, there's these choke points completely filled with mass, so you gotta get those before you can pass through them, and you must get them if you have any hope to win the game. And it looks like Blackheart this entire game has been a little bit ahead of Voodoo in terms of getting to those. Voodoo is just getting to his reclamation chunk. Here minute 6, Blackheart nearly 2000 reclaim, 500 power. Voodoo 1200 reclaim, 380 power. So Voodoo significantly behind. Also, for both players, they have their 4 mass extractor expansions. The middle looks like it's going to belong to Blackheart, but perhaps not for too long. The side here with an engineer, that's a significant reclaim. For Blackheart, he's going to get that. He's also got a tank and defense with 4 kills. And up on top, single kill for a Mech Marine from Blackheart. An engineer and a tank going to the top, and looks like air control for Blackheart. So Blackheart making great progress into tying up this series, given that he lost on the map that he chose. Next map of course is also going to be chosen by Voodoo, and Crazed actually while watching this game suggested that Voodoo is not choosing his best maps, something like Desert Arena or De Rosas, but perhaps the way I'm thinking about Voodoo is saving Desert Arena for his final game if he ever needs a must win. Voodoo now is completely cleared out this position. Here minute 8. And Blackheart was actually practicing with Lucian on De Rosas and Villa before the tourney. So perhaps Voodoo is trying to throw him a curveball here. And so far it's not working at all. I don't understand how Blackheart is a new player and knows Varga this well, which makes me think he's not a new player. So I want proof that he wasn't on GPGnet based on this map. It does appear to be a smurf to me, but that's alright. I mean, it's great to have classic players play, and if I'm wrong, that's quite amazing gameplay from Blackheart. Just naturally knowing how to play this map is bit of a trip. We're all seeing Tech 2 Air coming in from Blackheart. Here's a head on Eco. He's got air control. He's moving in with his ACU. He's already taken out that entire expansion. Voodoo is all alone. Has built a point defense. He's going to take out the expansion, but he's got absolutely no air cover for his ACU. Here minute 10, which is quite suicidal. I'm sure Blackheart realizes this. He can feel much safer expanding with his ACU, given that he has so many more planes. And here comes scouts from Blackheart. He's always using them. That's something that players sometimes wonder. How do I use my scouts, or whether or not I scout at all? And of course, you just want to build at least every 5th plane as a scout. Have a few of them laying around and scout whenever you have a free moment. If you're just idling, thinking about what to do, you should be scouting. Because something that happens to players once they get good, instead of watching their own base, they're watching the entire map. That's really the position you want to get yourself into. And here, now we got the map horizontally split, with the Voodoo now moving in. Looks like he's completely taken over. He's got some Tech 1 onto air. But here come gunships from Blackheart. and this is very dangerous. Voodoo needs a lot of flak. He's got a single Tech 1, which is going to get taken out by gunships very quickly. 4 gunships now in Voodoo under fire. These gunships have huge air support. Voodoo is going to try to rebuild the Tech 1 onto air turret. Interceptors from Voodoo coming in. Going to try to target the individual gunships, and I think I've seen this somewhere before. Yeah, there was a certain cast by Guile where Voodoo did this to somebody with Aeon. And Voodoo pays the price for leaving his ACU out in the open. But this makes the series so much more exciting. I'm really happy Blackheart won this, because now it's 1-1, and the next map is going to be chosen by Voodoo. Close. Hello and welcome to Game 3 between Blackheart and Voodoo, and this one Voodoo chose to go with Salt Rock Colony, another classic from GPG.net, although I think it's a little more familiar for FAF players. I do believe it made it on the ladder. Second air coming in from Blackheart, and so far both players 100% UEF. So that's perhaps not surprising and interesting here. Blackheart, no mass extractor build. Those are always dangerous, but if you can pull that off, it's always interesting, because then you get way ahead. Thing about mass extractors, they do cost a lot of power. Looks like the first engineer is going to get all the mass extractors. The second engineer is going to have a factory attack move, reclaim all this map. So we'll check on his eco, see how he's done. Voodoo doing the exact same thing, so both these players know more about this map than I do. Well, identical builds here, 1 minute 14 seconds. We can check out the eco for either player. Seeing the reclaim, so far this engineer's got about 40 mass. Total in the bank is about 40, so at this point you would stall if you didn't have this reclamation. Still no mass extractor, actually one mass extractor here for Voodoo, and Voodoo actually beginning to stall here. Building a little too fast. In this position you might want to pause your ACU, get these mass extractors finished. So Voodoo in a significant stall. Blackheart also in a stall, so I think it's always good, instead of doing no mass extractor builds, just get one mass extractor and you're safe, and you're still in good shape. The reason people do it, of course, is that one of these mass extractors does cost 360 extra power to build, which can be an issue. Marines for Blackheart coming in. Absolutely no protection for Voodoo. He's got some engineers thinking about moving around in this direction. Voodoo now working on the air factory. Marine for Voodoo. Expanding engineer for Voodoo to the top is protected with a couple of Marines for defense. Usually Marines are offensive. And a tank with a scout going up for Blackheart. And here in the bottom we're going to see First Blood. Marine versus NG. Marine does get reclaimed a little bit, and these two Marines don't get the job done, don't protect the engineer. And Blackheart, is Blackheart Voodoo Pebble? Did Pebble move to Germany somehow? I mean, he's really good with UEF, knows GPG.net maps. His Marines are awesome. I don't know. Maybe I'm just being paranoid. Voodoo now moving up with the engineer to the top. This is going to be a very important fight. Tank versus two Marines. With a little bit of micro, Marines definitely win, but without micro, of course, the tank is going to win pretty easily. Voodoo now coming in with a bomber to the top. We're seeing interceptors on the bottom. Both ACUs are going to meet near the civilians. Civilians on this map, of course, do provide a little bit of mass reclaim. And there's 3 of those positions. See, this engineer for Blackheart is going to grab that. This bomber for Voodoo going against the tank. Takes out a scout. And here actually 3 Marines against the tank. This tank for Blackheart is going to retreat. On the bottom, 2 ACUs meet. Voodoo grabs the last of the civs. And here it looks like total domination from Blackheart on the bottom. He's got 6 mask ejectors working, 7 extra mask ejectors working on the Hydra. And the Mech Marines for Blackheart completely denying any expansion. And once again, Voodoo moving down with engineers with no protection. Blackheart being very much a nuisance against Voodoo. But up on top though, a bit of a difference. Voodoo has a lot more. In an air fight that's very close, that appears to... I think Blackheart is going to take air control. Meanwhile, Voodoo runs into a point defense and is forced into the water. We're seeing naval factories started already for Blackheart. A nice point defense with an engineer. Blackheart forces Voodoo into the water. This is almost like a Setton's mid type of situation, but of course only one ocean. Up on top looks like Blackheart 5 kill. Oh, I wish I would have seen this. Looks like this a 6 kill tank for Blackheart, murdering all those Mech Marines. And Voodoo beginning to lose map control. Finally taking care of the problem of those Mech Marines, denying all those mask extractors. He's going to grab them as soon as he can. Blackheart meanwhile chasing down Voodoo. The health difference is 7,000 to 5,000, so about 2,000 difference. Blackheart feeling a little safer. Engineer here for Blackheart should be taken out by Voodoo. Blackheart retreats. And a scout for Blackheart. Once again, guess I can say scout for Blackheart. I'll probably be right. Of course, there's also civilians in the middle, quite a bit of mass, and they're protected by Tech 1 point defenses. So if you have a spare arty, like Voodoo has right there, might as well move in. There's also anti-air here, so when you're controlling air, if you fly there with Tech 1 air, you're going to get absolutely demolished. So good air control is absolutely essential in this map. So just patrolling your aircraft is a very bad idea. Also, these engineers working on a reclaim, if they get a little too close to the civs, are going to die. And appears the drop is being readied by Blackheart, while Voodoo looks to reestablish control up on top. Looks like he's going to do it. And now map control very much even, but Voodoo appears to be regaining the initiative. He's still only Tech 1, but quite a bit of Navy from Blackheart, so Blackheart investing in Navy instead of land and beginning to pay the price, although a ghetto gunship now for Blackheart. That's a very powerful weapon at this Tech 1 stage, and that's how you use your air control, although there are some interceptors for Voodoo lingering. This would be a shame for Blackheart to lose that ghetto, and so far he's flying away from his interceptors. He doesn't want to do that. More NTs coming in for Voodoo. I don't think that ghetto is going to live for too long. So a nice play for style there from Blackheart, but doesn't quite work out. He should still be able to keep air control, although Voodoo now making progress. On land, there's a point defense to retreat to for Blackheart. And Voodoo now getting an upgrade. Looks like it is going to be the gun. Also has a nice Tech 1 force. Both players quite defensive and submarine, so water is no longer a very good option for Voodoo. Of course, this series now tied at 1-1, and whoever wins the next game really takes the initiative. Voodoo now nearly done with his gun upgrade, and is of course going to go on an attack. Now he can outrange any of these point defenses. Blackheart getting a gun of his own. Actually already has Tech 2. So Tech 2 and gun versus gun, a bit of an advantage there for Blackheart. Actually a huge advantage. Looking at the eco here, coming up minute 10 from Blackheart. Absolutely mass stalling, 3,000 reclaim total, 6,200 power, 3,500 mass reclaim for Voodoo. Huge amounts of mass in storage, and plenty of power, and nice production. So Voodoo actually going ahead in this game. Blackheart loses a point defense, some overcharges, 6 kills, is retreating against a pretty good looking Tech 1 force, although all by himself I think he should be able to win this. Look how many units Voodoo has, got about 30. It's not really enough to kill a Tech 2 ACU with the gun, although Voodoo now Following up with his own ACU is going to deny a bunch of mass extractors. Now Voodoo, total control up on top, total naval control from Blackheart. He's now got submarines lingering in the water, but Voodoo, I think, is going to make Blackheart pay for neglecting land. Blackheart now 34 kills, Voodoo 4 kills, chasing Blackheart. Blackheart has a lot of reinforcements. And Voodoo now is going to begin to retreat, and this battle has just turned on its head. Voodoo was just pushing Blackheart back. Blackheart 4,000 health, Voodoo 4,000 health, but numbers for Blackheart. Voodoo continues to retreat, and of course the Tech 2 upgrade means an extra 30 minutes of health per second regen. Voodoo only at 10, and there Blackheart just got a huge veterancy. He's now over 4,000 health, 43. Voodoo forced into the water, 9, and their submarines is going to move back out, 11 kills, 200 health. Now it looks like he's killed all those. And now an overcharge from Blackheart, and Blackheart takes the lead after 3 games, 2-1. I think Voodoo would have survived against those Tech 1s. He killed the last tank with about 100 health left, but Blackheart realizing that comes in with the overcharge. But of course there's also these frigates which were going against Voodoo, so perhaps he would have died even without the overcharge. But nice style there at the end from Blackheart. And our champion Voodoo here, who's going for his 5th defense, is now in a do-or-die situation with Blackheart choosing the next map. Let's see what he chooses. And it appears we're at Twin Rivers. This is actually a suggestion for Blackheart from Lucian, and let's see if Blackheart regrets this or not. But we're seeing second air from Blackheart. Once again, all-out UEF. So far, 4 games, all UEF second air from Voodoo. It appears we have nearly identical builds here, 2 mass extractors, 7 PGens second air. Yep, but we have 7 PGens plus 2 more extra PGens after the initial build for Blackheart. It's a very nice build for this map. Most of the maps we've seen so far are 10 by 10. Where a combination of air and land rating is very powerful. Some of the smaller maps, it might be good to go first 2 land or even 3 land, try to overpower the other player on land, but air is usually so powerful in terms of scouting. You can see the entire map, and a lot of players really go for a scout, and I think Blackheart a lot of times goes for a scout. It's a unit you can build very quickly, and after that, you know what to build, either a bomber or interceptor. And if you lose the scout, not a big deal if you guess wrong with a bomber or an interceptor. It's really hard to justify those extra seconds of bombing that you get, especially when you get bombed yourself or run an interceptor and don't even get to drop a bomb. And here we're seeing a whole bunch of factories started by Voodoo. Appears he's got a big land spam planned. This is the main engineer, but great engineer to bomb. Pierce is going to incorporate a couple PGens along the way. And Voodoo, this is a second air, but 2.5 second and a half land there from Voodoo. And this is pretty ridiculous given that nearly identical builds once again. In terms of rating, both players have been very quiet defensive here from Blackheart. Tank and a scout protecting this engineer. Want to really get this expansion, 4 mass extractors, and of course 2 more here in the back. And appears that a factory radar and a point defense, if those are allowed to be finished. And here comes a scout from Blackheart. First scout, first interceptor for Voodoo. Just going to try to get that scout out. And well, of course Rivers, there's quite a bit of reclaim in the middle you want to get. And I imagine these players are going to be sending engineers in that direction. ECU for Voodoo going across instead of going the usual direction. That's interesting. Looks like after scouting, Blackheart went with an interceptor, so a very defensive second air. He's got interceptors and scouts so that he can see the whole field, but he's not building bombers. And perhaps not surprising, Voodoo now on 3 interceptors. Voodoo is going to try to come in and win air control and then deny any air production, it's going to be a mistake. There's actually already a flak for Blackheart, anticipating this move. An easy win for Blackheart. Let's see if that's going to be a problem for Voodoo. Does Voodoo have a flak just like Blackheart? He's got some interceptors, and he's still now he's producing a transport. So I think Voodoo's going to have to cancel that transport, otherwise it's going to die. Although it's still a very close interceptor fight. It's really going to be very close. But I think Voodoo is going to lose it. Voodoo, meanwhile, getting a little bit of reclaim in the middle with the ACU. And perhaps a bit behind in terms of grabbing the mask tractors. Maybe just a tad bit. Here's an engineer that got kind of lost for Blackheart. And Voodoo now moving in full steam ahead to get a bunch of units directly into Blackheart's base. Blackheart, big land spam, 2 engineers in the power spam, multiple engineers in the factory spam, also walls, something Blackheart usually does. Tries to block off any points of attack, and surprisingly, Voodoo gets his transport off. Very important transport. I think Blackheart should have seen that and went to intercept. This transport is going to fly by an interceptor. The interceptor is not going to follow. Quite crazy, and that's free mask tractors for Voodoo on the side. Meanwhile, Voodoo moving in hard with his ACU, Blackheart's ACU in the area as well. And actually, this is going to stop the factory production for Blackheart. He's going to change his engineers to make a point defense instead. There's another engineer elsewhere making factories and more point defenses. So Blackheart in a bit of an emergency mode here, trying to stop this big spam from Voodoo. Voodoo absolutely unrelenting. He's got to avoid the ACU. 11 kills for Blackheart, Voodoo at 21. Blackheart producing quite a few units directly at this position. But somehow Voodoo still has at least even numbers way across the field. And this is a very good looking spam here from Voodoo. And he's got more planned. Amazingly, Voodoo gets that transport that's been scouted multiple times, and half health has dropped off 2 engineers on either side. It's going to be 8 extra mask tractors for Voodoo, which is huge. That's 16 mass per second, which means you get an extra tank every 3 seconds. That's definitely an amount of mass you don't want to just throw away. So Blackheart here, 24 kills, Voodoo 26, now very even numbers, and a huge reclamation field for whoever can claim it. Perhaps a mistake here from Voodoo, moving in so hard, and with so much reclaim, Blackheart should be able to compensate at least for a while for not having those side mask tractors. And he's got to go in there. There's really no defense. They're completely scouted, a bomber or something, and a scouting transport that gets killed from Voodoo. So Voodoo has seen this entire base. He would have seen multiple Tech 1 point defenses. He would see a Tech 1 factory going Tech 2, perhaps he would see it. And now Voodoo still looking directly into this position. No any kind of raiding, and actually some raiding here from Blackheart. Great awareness. Voodoo now having to force some units back, and some engineers are going to die for Voodoo. Also some mask extractors. But Voodoo just going directly at Blackheart. Voodoo now 33 kills, Blackheart's 34. And this is very reminiscent of Setton's mid, and Voodoo actually quite good on Setton's mid. Of course, on Setton's he usually plays as Scruffy. And he's still unrelenting. If he wins this, I think it'll be for all those games that he played on Setton's in the middle, where games like this, especially in GPG, really haven't seen too many like this on FAF. Something had changed. Not really sure what it is. It's a lot more turtle-like. Perhaps it's the naval reclaim. Perhaps it's just the players play a little better. But we are now going to see Tech 2 land engineer for Blackheart, Tech 2 point defenses. And if Blackheart can get these Tech 2 point defenses established, it's going to be very difficult to break for Voodoo with only Tech 1 spam. So far, pretty good defense from Blackheart. Has been stemming this flow of units. We don't see actually engineers here for Voodoo. on the front lines. This is something new players should really learn. Gotta get those NGs up there. And it reminds me, I gotta keep those icons on when I zoom in. I'll change that option after this game. This is a new setup for me, so forgive me if things aren't as smooth as they usually are. Blackheart now 55 kills, retreats, and actually it appears that Voodoo is breaking through these front lines. There are some point defenses here in the back. 3 kills for one, none for the other. Voodoo 57 kills. And Blackheart 64. I think those tech to point defenses were taken out. Quite a bit of artillery here for Voodoo. Let's see what the ratio of artillery to tanks here. 50-50. And tech 1 flak. The interesting choice of units for Voodoo. Very good against stationary targets like point defenses and factories. So Voodoo trying to do as much damage as possible. This tech 2 land. This tech 2 land factory would be a great target for Voodoo if you can take that out. Tech 2 land for Voodoo as well. Here minute 13, and okay, this is ridiculous. That's what you call a spam. Yeah, that's very good looking spam from Voodoo. Hope people enjoyed that. Blackheart though, 82 kills surviving. Voodoo 73 kills. See how much reclaim Blackheart has, 7,000. Pretty good looking eco, about 1,000 power. Voodoo, a little less reclaim, also 1,000 power. And gunships now for Voodoo. This could be really bad for Voodoo. You gotta remember, if Voodoo loses this, he is no longer the champion. Blackheart is our new champion. Voodoo, he's got a mobile shield coming in and a lot of interceptors for Voodoo. Of course, you gotta remember that second game he lost to gunships. You don't want to do that twice in the same series. And meanwhile, Blackheart getting absolutely ran over. Blackheart does have this tech to air factory making more gunships, but his main base is getting absolutely slaughtered. Although if he survives this, it's still a lot of reclaim, but the flow of units is just not stopping. And now we're seeing some mongoose in here as well, and Voodoo under his shield, 83 kills. Blackheart 107 kills. He's got some tech to mask tractors as well, more protect 1 point defenses. And Voodoo appears to have broken through. No more tech 1 point defenses that were built a long time ago here, so the line has moved forward for Voodoo. And of course, Voodoo winning this position get a lot more reclaim. Blackheart now actually in danger of losing this. More gunships gonna attack Voodoo. 117 kills. Voodoo losing health pretty rapidly. Actually, gunships from Voodoo as well. It's a bit of a gunship on gunship action. One thing people should know: gunships can't shoot each other. And actually, it is Voodoo's gunships attacking Blackheart's gunships. And also some tech to flak in the mix, it appears. 2 kills for this tech to flak. Voodoo half health. And Blackheart appears to have lost this game. And yeah, this is why Voodoo is so good. Up against the ropes, pulls out a massive spam. Let's check out how many Tech 1 factories he had here at the end. It was 23 factories. Huge amounts of spam. Wins the game. It's now 2-2. And Voodoo gets to choose the next map. Let's see what it's going to be. Hello and welcome to Via Protectorate. Via 3, one of the classic maps. And Voodoo decides to break with a pattern and chooses Cybern. This is the first time anybody in these 5 games chose anything but EEF. Blackheart, of course, going with EEF. Blackheart did play Lucian on this map. Recently anticipating having to play here because Voodoo is absolutely brutal here. It's been one of his go-to maps besides Desert Arena, De Rosas, and Via. All maps quite interesting. Of course, in the middle here, don't forget 3,000 mass just sitting there for you to get. What's in your way is a little bit of Tech 1 anti-air and some Tech 1 point defense. And of course also a lot of little rocks everywhere to reclaim. Or you're going to see here from Voodoo. Once again doing second air, and that's what we've been seeing on most maps. Via here, it's still a 10 by 10, but it's there's no empty space, so it's actually a bit larger than some of the other maps we've seen. There's also different heights here, so a bit of height grounds where you see the starting positions. It can be played as a 2v2. And then passageways here with a bunch of trees, which you can get for power. And of course, a lot of rocks everywhere. So a lot of engineers and a lot of reclaim is always a good idea. We see a lot of manual reclaim here actually from Blackheart. Perhaps a bit surprising, actually manual reclaim from Voodoo as well. So both players want to get those close rocks as soon as possible. Big power spam from Voodoo. It appears after he's going to get 7 Tech 1 P-gens and an air factory, and he's actually going to have 8 P-gens. And finally now a Mantis from Voodoo. Absolutely no raiding yet from either player. They feel like this map is so large there is no reason to raid. Might as well maximize your build capacity early on. Here comes second air from Blackheart, and somehow both these players, maybe because they're both EEF, well this one Voodoo is Cybern. I wonder if he'll build that actually he's not gonna build a template. He's just gonna make rows of units here with Cybern. But they've been having nearly the same build over and over and over. Perhaps Blackheart is a fan of Voodoo, or they both just magically figure out the most optimal builds. This engineer is going to get a lot of reclaim in this position. This is actually a really good place to build a factory. Also a nice place to put a radar, because this map's excellent for drops. You can get around the side, so you want to get radars in these positions. Also a lot of build capacity is nice. A good place to retake your expansions. Of course, these expansions are extremely valuable in between the main bases. And here comes a bomber now from Voodoo. Voodoo choosing go first bomber and a scout for Blackheart. Should have spotted that bomber. And all out bombers for Voodoo. See, this bomber is looking for any raids. Interceptor for Blackheart already going in that position. Not surprising given that scout did spot him, and a bomber for Voodoo is going to go in the other direction. This is going to be first contact here. And should be easy kill for Blackheart. So the value of a scout has been seen that over and over is absolutely crucial. So once again, perhaps Voodoo should have gone for a scout there. See, utilizing the adjacency. People have been doing a lot more of that since maybe a patch or two ago, when Pilot put those new adjacency rules in. Here comes a bomber for Voodoo around the side. Not really sure what it's doing. Going around in circles. Bit uncharacteristic of Voodoo. But he's been losing bombers left and right. In terms of expanding the ACU for Voodoo, a lot more aggressive. Although actually no, take that back, they're nearly identical, but they're opposite sides of the map. It's not very symmetric here. I guess it's close, but the way these mountains are positioned, there is a bit of a, what's it called, a propeller type of motion. So choosing either left or right is not the same. Voodoo now pulling away with a little bit of eco, although in terms of map control, a lot more presence here for Blackheart with Tech 1. Also engineers beginning to expand. Up on top we are seeing Voodoo. Good looking Mantis force, not too much in his way. He needs to get more engineers, try to grab the top to even this out. And civilians getting kills against Blackheart, getting a little too close. And now Mantis versus Striker battle. If Mantis get numbers, they're in good shape. Of course 1v1, the Strikers dominate. And Voodoo trying to recover here. Well, 3 versus 4. With the reinforcements for Blackheart. Voodoo is going to lose this right side, right bottom. Up top though, Voodoo pretty much in control. Blackheart getting a whole bunch of land, so Tech 1 land spam seems to be the name of the game so far. Voodoo actually getting some anti-air turrets, not really sure why. Perhaps anticipating something like a snipe at him, or guess on a map this big, Tech 2 ghetto snipes are always a possibility. And a massive air spam plan for Voodoo. Voodoo actually already getting mass storage on his Tech 2 mass extractors. Already has 4 Tech 2 mass extractors at his starting position. We're also seeing some Tech 2 mass extractors for Blackheart, but he is significantly behind. And up on top, Voodoo is now going to come in. Blackheart will move out with the ACU. If Blackheart chooses to expand with ACU, has a chance to grab total map control here. Although Voodoo now, some strikers, he's not really working as a single group. Decides to just retreat. Up top, Blackheart. No upgrades, chases away a bunch of Manta. Scouts for Voodoo. And this is a great low force from Blackheart here. Minute 10 moves in, takes out Tech 2. Tech 1 mask extractors and gonna cause a little more problems. Some engineers, some Manta. Tech 2 land for Voodoo. These strikers now perhaps should have kept going, would have killed a lot of engineers. Instead, they're just gonna die. But we'll see this Tech 2 land move from Voodoo, if that pays off. He's making hoplites and he's making rhinos. On a map like this, perhaps the Wangers would be a good choice, although I think Wangers is a better choice than the Rhino. We'll see how the Rhino goes. Of course, Rhino only 200 mass instead of about almost 400 for the Wanger. So perhaps that's the better choice, but we see these lasers. Actually, when they're up close, they're pretty good. When there's any kind of bump, however, they will not be able to shoot. So hero facing Rhinos take them to rugged terrain and they're not going to be able to hit. Although now it looks like Blackheart taking over map control, so this is deciding game 5. Blackheart beginning to take away in terms of the score and map control, though this Tech 2 from Voodoo looking really good. Actually looking very nice. That's a stealth field. So the Rhino is really cleaning up Tech 2, all kinds of Tech 2 units. And a massive Tech 1 air. This Tech 2 air factory, Tech 2 power spam, 3 Tech 1 air factories, Tech 3 mass extractors for Voodoo. So Voodoo attempting to make up for, this is gunships versus Tech 2 and actually take out Tech 2 flak. That's crucial, and all these hero units here are going to fall to Tech 2 air from Blackheart, and that's going to precipitate into a massive air fight. Voodoo coming in. Let's actually check out the numbers here. Voodoo about 37 planes. Blackheart with 49, so significant advantage for Blackheart in these battles. Advantage of 25%. It's pretty massive, actually. It's about 33% in that one. Never got an answer to that question. Now a bunch of Tech 2 on the other side, so Tech 2 factories for Voodoo on either position. Voodoo the more Tech 2. I don't actually see too much Tech 2 flag here. And I think Voodoo really needs Tech 2 flag given that these gunships are moving around the side. And actually Voodoo now going Tech 3 air. He is attempting to catch up. He's got multiple Tech 3 mask extractors. He's got 3 Tech 3 mask extractors, which is pretty crazy. Some gunships now going to get targeted by Voodoo. But just way too much Tech 1 air from Blackheart. Total air domination. Tech 3 air can't come soon enough for Voodoo. And actually, if Blackheart were able to take out those Tech 2 pigeons somehow, perhaps with some Janus bombers, this would win the game for him. There's no way that Voodoo would be able to recover and make ASF without all those Tech 2 pigeons. There's no shields and they're all next to each other. Perfect targets. This is exactly where it needs to go. A bunch of Tech 1 flags would protect against gunships. But even just the gunships moving in against those Tech 2 power would be nice. although the ASF are now beginning to come out for Voodoo. We're also seeing Tech 2 land for Blackheart, is making pillars. A nice counter to the Rhino. And here we're now going to see the Rhinos versus pillars. Gonna take 1 point defense, of course, is going to shift the battle. Hoplites, when they're up close, really no chance. Voodoo will retreat, and now the ASF for Voodoo are going to get a lot of kills. Got a whole bunch of Tech 1 flak. And a lot of these gunships really not doing too much. We're also seeing some Tech 2 here. More gunships moving in. And where is Voodoo's? Voodoo's ACU right next to Tech 3 air production. And more Tech 2 power. This is the only target for Voodoo, for Blackheart against Voodoo. That makes any sense. Everything else really doesn't matter. If Voodoo can take Tech 3 air control, he is in a very good position. We're only seeing Tech 1 air so far for Blackheart. A lot of Tech 2 flag for Blackheart. He needs to protect his ACU. He has map control, so even if he completely loses air, he still has map control, so he's not in a bad shape. And actually, it's been taking this ASF quite a long time to kill all the Tech 1 interceptors. So, actually, Voodoo having some problems here. Pillars, 1v1 pillar, a much better tank. Has that arch on the shot. Doesn't really miss. More damage. Better in every single way, and it costs the same as the Rhino. This is one advantage that UEF definitely have. You want to win Tech 2 battles with Cybern against UEF, you got to use the hoplite. Now gunships from Voodoo. Gonna try to swing the battle. Voodoo very much in his top corner. He has a single expansion here. Actually already took some damage. Pillars for Blackheart have been excellent. But now gunships and ASF from Voodoo. Huge build capacity. This is really where everything is going for Voodoo here. Minute 18. He's got 121 mass. Huge power excess. Still making Tech 2 power. Blackheart, more mass. He's got, very hard to tell, nearly 50,000 reclaim. Still nobody got that reclaim in the middle. A little less power for Blackheart. And gunships for Blackheart. Scouts, Tech 3 air for Blackheart. He's got his ASF production in this position. He's got a couple Tech 2 power generators. A lot more Tech 2 power though for Voodoo. That's really the... I still got to figure out what the button is on my new setup to do split screen. I will be bringing that in future casts. I'm thinking with my new setup, once I figure everything out, it's actually going to be much better. But at this point, I'm still a bit of a noob trying to figure things out. Voodoo now still ASF. Tech 2 land, no Tech 3 land yet. That could be an advantage for Blackheart if he makes a lot of flak and Tech 3 land. Or even just the pillars have been having a lot of success. These are great engineers for Blackheart, reclaiming that battlefield. And a pillar, a couple flags against a whole bunch of rhinos here are going to get outnumbered. I'm very surprised Voodoo did not make wangers. Perhaps it's just not the eco for it. Here once again it's pillars versus rhinos. Huge reclamation field. And it looks like the rhinos might have this one. Although it's very close. More Tech 2 P-Gens, something like 10 ASF for Voodoo. Seen similar numbers for Blackheart. So Blackheart actually doing alright. The only thing he's behind on is Tech 3 mask extractors. Still only Tech 2 mask extractors for Blackheart, but he's got so many more Tech 1s and a lot more reclaim here. 57,000 reclaim now and a lot more power now, almost 10,000 power. Voodoo over 10,000 power and huge amounts of reclaim, over 2,000. So actually just mass production for Voodoo is superior, although nearly 20,000 extra reclaim for Blackheart. In terms of mass, these rhinos have been quite good actually for Voodoo on the top side. They did lose this expansion, which has now been taken by Blackheart. They're trying to fight off any more pillars. Engineers for Voodoo gonna try to even out the reclaim numbers. Some tech 2-point defenses here for Blackheart, and Blackheart actually firmly in control of this one. Voodoo without shields, and actually Voodoo is going tech 3 land, and that has been scouted by Blackheart. Massive air spam, tech 3 power for Blackheart, and this could actually go down to ASF micro. Although at this point it looks like Voodoo has numbers in terms of ASF. Also a lot of Tech 1 interceptors. And at this point it might go down to where they fight. That is the very first thing in any air battle, is the position of the battle. Engineers versus Tech 2 tanks. Engineers getting Tech 1 point defenses with walls. Tech tanks are going to win anyway. Scout for Voodoo. So at this point Voodoo needs to realize is, does he have enough air to do anything, or does he just move out on land? And with Tech 3 land, Voodoo now with bricks is going to begin to take back map control unless we see Percy's from Blackheart. And we're going to see a Tech 3 land factory here from Blackheart. In terms of scores, these two players are dead even. And more Tech 3 max extractors for Voodoo. He's working on his 5th. Bricks a bit stuck here, not the best engineer management from Voodoo. And one thing that's remarkable, actually multiple Tech 3 factories from Voodoo. No Tech 3 power from Voodoo yet. Multiple Tech 3 pigeons from Blackheart though. Massive ASF spam. Here minute 22, so here dead even game, game 5. Gotta remember some up and downs in this one. Blackheart lost the first game. Looked quite bad for him, but then Voodoo really throwing the second game away. Moving out with the ACU without any kind of air protection. Is made to pay the price. Then I think Blackheart got a little lucky on Salt Rock, but of course mistake nonetheless. And now Voodoo on his comeback, winning the previous game on Rivers with an amazing spam. Just a ridiculous spam. And here with Cybern, dead even against Blackheart. He's got a little more eco, but Blackheart has map control, although this map control is threatened now by Voodoo. Voodoo, whole bunch of bricks. It does look like Voodoo has better eco managing skills overall in terms of what happened here. Choosing to upgrade a couple more Tech 3 mass extractors earlier instead of grabbing map control, and even though Blackheart got nearly 20,000 extra reclaim, Voodoo's still looking really good in terms of what kind of units he has on the field. A lot of ASF here, gunships for Blackheart, and we might see an air battle. Blackheart here under a single shield trying to get Tech 3 radar. These gunships are going to be taken out. Here, let's check out the numbers. Voodoo 30 ASF. Blackheart 29. Absolutely dead even numbers. And what is Voodoo doing? He might be targeting individual planes here. He's trying to go after the ones that have the lowest health. Takes a lot of concentration, takes grouping of your units. And actually looks like a patrol now for Blackheart, and a lot of Tech 1 air coming in for Voodoo trying to swing this battle. That is one big difference. No Tech 1 for Blackheart, and with even numbers this much Tech 1 can make the difference. And now both players just patrolling. Some Tech 2 flak here isn't going to be very effective against ASF. Blackheart probably should think about more shields. And now Tech 1 air coming in from Blackheart. although Voodoo seems to be cleaning up. Elsewhere we're seeing Voodoo making progress, taking map control, and we'll now speed it up back to normal speed. And Voodoo appears to have just won air control by about 10 ASF. And I think the difference, one huge difference, was that the Tech 1 Air from Voodoo came in much earlier. Blackheart didn't think about using his Tech 1 Air. That was really one lapse of concentration there. We're seeing Percy's on the field. Blackheart will need those shortly because these bricks are just rolling everything over. The bottom has been lost by Blackheart. Up on top, bricks are threatening, but Percy's moving in. We're seeing Strat Bombers for Voodoo. Feels he's got air control. Might try to go for the kill, either take out some power or go after the ACU. Although this air spam from Blackheart is still very impressive and a lot of Tech 3 power. One thing that Blackheart doesn't really have is a lot of engineer production. Has to bring engineers from far away, needs more NGs. Given that much power, he should be able to compete with Voodoo in terms of ASF. Here, minute 26. Blackheart's ACU is in quite a bit of trouble, making Tech 2 flak, and bricks moving in. Strat Bombers and bricks against Blackheart's ACU. Shield here, 9,000 health. He's going down rapidly. Some overcharges perhaps. Yeah, one overcharge from Blackheart. No more shield. Strat Bombers coming in. Blackheart. There goes the shield. I'm very surprised Blackheart didn't have more shields. He does overcharge all those Percys. And now he's going to be dodging. He needs to dance against the Strat Bombers if he doesn't dance. He is now losing health quite rapidly. Some SF trying to take out single Strat Bombers. Blackheart's working on a shield which is going to be denied. Continues to take Strat Bombers to the face. 5,000 health. More Strat Bombers. One more bomb. Oh, 100 health. I did not call that right. Is there going to be another bomb to end this? I don't see that. There's a Strat Bomber. It will not be shut down. Blackheart. It's nearly impossible to dance against the Cybern Strats. If you're wondering why he wasn't dancing against Aeon, you have a chance, but so much splash on the Cybern Strat. The lowest damage, but once they're hitting you, you're pretty much done. And Voodoo retains his championship. He's got Blackheart on his list of players he's beaten. But week 19, next week, we already have Tag Rock, Crazed, and Lucian, and Congreve, I believe, have signed up. So even the Challenger tourney is going to be absolutely epic. So hopefully people tune in to watch those. Hopefully people enjoyed this one. I definitely did, and try to bring you guys more casts in the near future.